What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue. I'm Brett, your host. I have Tanner the Head with me. Chris and Matt are not here, but we have way better people filling in. We have doctors Mark and Claire Rathjen again with us from Core Physical Therapy.
Hi.
We're going to talk about our partners first. We have Elite Nutrition Omaha, elitenutritionomaha.com.
Yep.
Go to their
Free
website.
shipping.
Free shipping worldwide.
Over $50.
Over $50. And like we said, that's easy. Use B3 at checkout for 10% off. Yell B3 in the store and you get a possibly shitty.
They're actually good.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. I remember you asking that question. They're actually good shakers.
Oh, good.
And they're made in America.
Even better.
Yeah.
And then also we have Rosewood Block. They make the best cutting boards in the barbecue game. Check them out, rosewoodblock.com. They're fully customizable. Use B3 at checkout for 10% off there. Actually, all of us have a Rosewood Block except for Tanner. You guys have one as well.
Yeah.
I do, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, as you were saying that, I was like, I should get another one for the upstairs.
Yes, they make very nice boards. Tanner still not.
I'm getting mine.
Did you order it?
Christmas
Well, no,
gift.
I was ordering when I got back from vacation.
Well,
It's
yeah.
always, there's always something.
Ask Santa.
Yes.
Yeah, always something.
Tanner, if I order a box of bars, can you hand deliver them?
Yeah, I'll walk across the street.
Okay.
All right. On with the show.
We do have pumpkin spice brownies.
Oh,
I know.
really?
I had a little nibble the other day.
I think we need some of those for the.
I think the cookie dough ones. If you haven't been out to Elite, they have the, what are they, Prime Bites?
Oh, God, yeah.
They're brownies. Man, they have a new cookie one.
I had
that
one this
shit.
morning.
That shit is delicious.
I
It
bought
was,
you
it's
one.
the cookie
for my
dough from
first
the
one.
movie theaters. They're
Yeah.
like
And I saw
partnered
that we
with
were
them.
there. So
Yeah, they're super good. Speaking now, we're talking about fat things. We're going to talk about fat kids today and how to not have fat kids. But, you know, the importance of kids training, I think some of the facts, fallacies, myths. But one stat I read is it's like 17 million obese kids is where they think it's at. And I think, like we were talking before, their obesity is way different than our obesity.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of us except Claire being on the obesity scale
Right.
is not the same as like a fat kid walking down the street.
You know, and what percentage is that? How many kids are in the United States?
Probably too many.
For sure.
Yeah, at least.
That's
I mean, that's probably half.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a lot. It's sad.
yeah, the laziness of kids is like a whole new level.
yeah. Well, I just think even looking back at what we used to do for PE and even elementary school, and I know there's a big push now to, it's science and technology and let's not have kids have as much recess because we need to make sure their math scores are better and things like that. But the things that we used to do in PE just as a normal, today you're going to skip, you're going to shuffle, you're going to, we used to run around and hurl dodgeballs at each other. Okay. Yeah. I suppose there's some negatives there. Some people cried. Some people regretted their life decisions.
Made
but
you tougher.
yeah, exactly.
It did.
But
It taught you how to lose.
kids don't do that nowadays. Kids don't know how to integrate being physically active into their life unless they're in competitive sports. And then it's overcorrected, which is a whole nother topic. But
Yeah, and I think it's easy to blame the children, but honestly, you got to blame the parents because the parents are producing the children.
Yeah.
Our parents didn't let us sit and watch TV all day. We had to go outside, come back for dinner, come back when the lights go off.
Well, and like when I was younger, I didn't have cable and TV sucked during the day.
Yeah.
I would
there
watch
was
like
soap operas.
I'd watch
Soap
The
operas.
Price is Right, obviously.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And then you would have to go outside because cartoons would come on at like 3:00. Mm-hmm. So you basically had to go outside from
You watch General Hospital.
No, I watched All My Children.
Same.
One Life to Live.
Yeah.
Because I had two sisters. I didn't really have a choice.
All My Children was on at noon, I think.
Yeah, and then One Life
and
to
then
Live.
One Life to Live was on at 1. General Hospital didn't come on until 2.
General Hospital kind of sucked anyway.
Yeah,
But you know what's funny is
it's the only one that's still on.
I didn't watch. Like I quit. Like when my sisters moved out, I never watched it, and then Amber watched it, and I started watching with her like 20 years later. Same characters,
Same
everybody.
peeps.
Yep,
Everything's the same.
Everything's the same.
Erica Kane.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we would go outside. I mean, first of all, I had to as I got older, I had to mow the lawn during the summer. You'd have to do dishes, or I was I'm gonna go out and get really good with this BB gun. Or I had to feed cattle every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like walk beans, which is terrible, but
It builds character.
yeah. Like my dad always said, you're gonna have great ankles for sports. But yeah, kids don't do it.
Well, I think part of it's parents are scared to just let them roam.
Well, yeah, society is different now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have more information. Like when we all grew up, 90s-ish.
Yeah.
There was a ton of crime, but we just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Now everyone is hyper aware of everything that happens. That's why we live in a small town and they can just roam. It's fine. It's I just say we have free range kids, but you just don't see that in town. You can't.
No, I heard a stat the other day. The U.S. is the safest it's actually been, or the world's like the safest it's been in like years. But now because of social media and 24-hour news, like it seems worse.
Go back and look at the 90s crime stats. It was the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, New York City was just like it was crazy.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
All violent crime was up, but we just have access to all this information. And then parents are just hypersensitive, I think. And it's just, and I think other people are judgy. Like if you just let your kids roam, then they're like, why isn't anyone watching them? You know, so
Yeah, and the video games are obviously different now.
they're way cooler.
Yeah.
They're way
Yeah,
better.
they're way cooler, obviously. But
You can only play duck hunt for so long.
yeah, I just think that's what has kids sucked in between that and TikTok all day.
But I feel like there's definitely like a very specific divide now where you have the kids that don't do anything and their parents don't make them do anything. But then you have the kids that are playing, you know, school sports 5 days a week. They have competitive sport practice 3 days a week. And then on top of that, they have, you know, some additional strength training on the same nights. And there's no in between, you know, and I think parents get nervous about that as well. Is that, okay, my kid doesn't do anything, they should do something, but I don't know what to do with them. And then the opposite is true where the parents are like, well, I don't know what to do with them, so we're going to have them do everything to see if I can't get a free college education out of it.
Yeah, and now like with you guys in the PT field, what do you? I mean, obviously, I've been in your clinic. There's always kids in there, and by kids, I don't. I mean, like, what are they like?
Teens usually.
Like teens usually,
Yeah.
like not like young kids. What do you think is the biggest cause of why they're in there? Do you think it's like an overuse thing?
Yes, Mark?
You know, I think it's multifactorial. I think it's an overuse thing, but it's also the lack of, you know, it's too specific. Everybody plays one sport all year round now. They don't have 3 sport athletes anymore. And we've seen research for decades that shows us if you play multiple sports during multiple seasons, your injury rates go down because you cross train. They don't cross train anymore. You play soccer, you play it all year round. You play volleyball, you play it all year round. Softball, the same thing. There's just not a lot of multidisciplinary sports now. People are encouraged to specifically train for only a sport, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of it, I think.
The injuries that we used to see in maybe like 19 to 22-year-olds as they transitioned, like Mark said, from a 3 or 4 sport athlete to one singular sport in college. Those overuse injuries, now we're seeing them in 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. Like it is insane the shift that we've seen, like adult type injuries, pretty significant injuries that we see now in these younger kids because there's not a body part that they give a rest to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember reading, like, when I first started going through, like, some of the West Side stuff and reading some of the books that Louis had put out there, and they had, like, the facts and fallacies of, like, Eastern Bloc training, which they were always, like, obviously legendary in the Olympics. I mean, they would have, for their down days for, like, the soccer team, they would go play basketball, just as a form of cross-training, moving in different planes you're not normally going to move in. And like you said, I think playing those sports, you build the base, just like with weight training. You build that base that you can grow off of, which also I think kids' weight training is important too. Now it doesn't have to be like maximal effort weight training, but I think there's a lot of myths on kids' strength training where they don't want their kids to train because they heard one time it'll like mess up their growth plates,
Right.
But
They'll
they'll
hurt
play
their skeleton.
but they'll
or-
play contact football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you guys right. There has to be the rate of impact you have to close a growth plate or to damage a growth plate. I assume has to be.
I mean, it's extremely high.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it happen during a weightlifting issue. You have, you know, spine fractures, the small spine fractures, but those aren't impact related generally. Those are.
I mean,
growth
the
related.
irony of that mindset, in all honesty, excuse me, is that you have muscles that are supposed to be absorbing force and impact. So the irony of people who are scared to have their kids involved in weight training because it's going to hurt them, the muscular absorption of impact or like eccentric absorption is what's protecting these kids or protecting these adults as well. Everybody has seen somebody, regardless of age, who's doing something like a box jump or a plyometric thing where you're like, oh, that is going straight, like from your heel, through your ankle, through your knee, into your hip, right into your spine. And we've all seen people do it. You know, like they're not to drag on CrossFit, but you see people in CrossFit do that when they're just dog tired, you know, like the end of their chipper workout and they're just absolutely just going through the motions. That's not what's supposed to happen. And the stronger you are, the more you actually can protect yourself. But the irony exists that people don't want to put their kids in that position because they're scared of them getting hurt.
Do you think the lack of weight training is what causes like so many soft tissue injuries at the beginning of sports seasons? Like you always see it in football. My daughter runs track, and I joke, it's like sprinters, they should only be able to jog for the first week because there's like everything, hammy and quad every time.
Yeah. Shin splints every time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's
Like
a
the
huge
off
portion
season.
of it.
Yeah, the
And
off-season training.
I'll even put myself in there is that, you know, during the winter season when I hung up my basketball shoes, the writing was on the wall.
And put on your band shoes.
Yeah. Swing choir,
Oh, sorry.
They have shoes for that?
tap shoes.
Wow.
I digress.
Do we have a tab button on here?
No, just sad.
Bring them in next time.
There's a picture that exists. I can find it. But, you know, during track season, nobody thought of doing anything weight training wise for the off season when we were in high school. And now I know that, as we were talking about, kids play the same sport year round and they have a little bit of cycling through there. But yeah, I mean, nobody thinks about their sport until the day practice starts.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, I think with track is the most, well, what's the best way to put it? Uncoachable sport. I don't think you really have to coach track to an extent. Do you know what I mean? It's not like football, basketball. You have to run these plays. You need to get things down, timings, precision, whatever, right? I think track, you should only be on the track like 2 days a week. The other 3 should be in the weight room.
I mean, that's how you get faster. If you're a sprinter, perhaps like even more extreme because
And the throwers. Your throwers and sprinters should be in the weight
it's
room.
weight room based.
Because you're not, here's the thing. If somebody's like bad at running, you're not going to make them a better runner. I'm sorry. Like you're just not going to make them like, I think running is the most natural ability. You either have it or you don't.
You can tweak certain things, but yeah, you're not going to be bad.
And that's what I mean. Like uncoachable. I'm not like trying to shit on like track coaches. I'm just saying like,
My dad was a track coach.
yeah. And I like your dad. He makes great blizzards.
He does.
But no, you're not going to make like someone like, especially after if they've ran track in like 7th and 8th grade and you get into high school, their running technique is probably pretty close to where it's going to be. If you had a good coach in I think 7th and 8th
Oh
grade.
yeah, from like a skill standpoint, right?
Yeah,
like you
like-
teach someone how to hurdle, you teach someone how to long jump, and then it's practice. And
Yeah.
especially with distance runners, like you can sit there and have the best workouts laid out to be like, okay, we're gonna do this, but if the person's not gonna put forth the effort, then yeah, there's no need. And you can phone it in, you can sandbag it, and you're like, well, I got in my miles. Okay, well, you didn't really do anything other
Yeah.
than
I mean,
in
it's-
order to make yourself better.
I mean, imagine you're the first year of track and you're like, literally just like go out and run. People know how to run. Like you either do or you don't. Like if you, like we all have seen people who can't run. I had a client the other day. She was like, I'm not a good runner. I go, I know.
We can tell.
She's like, what do you mean? I go, I saw you like briskly walk and I could tell you're not a runner. But I think that like the biggest transition I had from like middle school to high school was going from just like running shoes to track spikes. You know what I mean? Because nobody in middle school really ran track spikes. Then I think you learn to run more on the balls of your feet, especially as a sprinter. You know what I mean? That's little stuff. But yeah, I think strength training, you're just
Yeah.
going to be faster, especially for your jumpers, your throwers.
Yeah, I think we have more and more access to good weight rooms, especially in junior high, but even in high school. We just don't have access to good coaching. And that's, I think, the biggest issue that we see is there's great weight rooms in high schools now. Great, better than
you have
college.
one strength coach.
Yeah.
For like
well,
20
it's not
kids.
even a strength coach. It's just like your math teacher who sits and reads the paper.
It's
while
a
you
football
work out.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually the football coach.
Yeah, and that's what he does. And he just, it's very hands off. And I think that's probably an issue. I don't know, funding is probably an issue, so I'm not going to get into that. But the lack of good instruction, I think, leads to the more injuries than actually the weight training itself isn't the issue. It's just,
And I think there's also a
watching?
crossover. Like you have I have a friend who's a strength coach at one of the schools here, and he's a super smart guy. Like we trained together for a long time. But then you run into like the conflict of like, well, the football coach doesn't think we should be doing this. You know what I mean? Because of this and this. And it's like, well, you have to have trust in each person.
Right.
Now I get it. There might be some football coaches who are probably better strength coaches than the actual strength coaches. Then you take care of that.
Yeah.
You should have a program put together for your athletes.
yeah.
But it's hard to train, 10 kids at one time.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it's also hard to train a bunch of kids in different sports.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too, because
Yeah.
I see a lot of my athletes doing the same program at a big school. They're all doing the same program, but your distance runners and your volleyball players and your football players shouldn't be doing the exact same program. It doesn't make sense because they're different sports.
Yeah. And I don't know why they don't, like we talk about funding. I would assume that high school athletics still bring in a good amount of money to the schools.
I would imagine.
I would think attendance to games, apparel. You know, I assume that's got to make them some money.
Well, it's not like our property taxes are low either. They've got to have money.
So that's what I'm saying. So why can't you hire, a strength coach and then let them hire someone else to work with them?
Like interns and...
Yeah. And even if you have just like, hey, it's seasonal, you're the football strength coach. And then, we got the basketball strength coach. And then what, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, you have different sports happening at different times. You have male, female sports happening simultaneously. And I think the football, like to your point, the football program is the only thing that really bring in money. Even at the University of Nebraska, the volleyball team does there, but that's rare. So I think the football team gets they get all the resources, and everyone else gets the leftovers. I mean, that's what I see even at a school that tries to pay attention. Like the girls' sports is like, well, I'll train her because I know that she's just going to have the football coach kind of not paying attention.
yeah. And I've seen it too, as far as being like with trainers, you get the high school strength coaches that are like, no, I don't want you working with a trainer outside of here because whatever. And I'm like, well, like I've trained some kids and I'm like, well, your strength coach is really shitty.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't, like he told you that was okay and it's not. That's
Well,
fucking terrible.
I mean, even in best case scenario, then you have one person who's kind of paying attention to 50, 60 kids. I mean, that's honestly one of the reasons that we actually started our clinic is that you're rehabbing some of these athletes and you're sending them back to sports and you're like, oh, your squat sucks. Like your squat straight up sucks. And you're going to go into the weight room and like get with your buddies and try to max out. And you're going to have somebody who's across the room reading the newspaper and not paying attention to you. But most PT clinics, not that we're like just the coolest, we are, but most PT clinics have maybe 2 45-pound plates if you're lucky, and a
Honestly,
bar if you're
most of them
lucky.
don't even have a bar.
Oh, I used to work at a clinic that literally the heaviest weight we had was 2 10-pound dumbbells. Your squat looks a little different when you load it past that point.
well, and that's no lift. Every lift looks good at lightweight.
Absolutely.
You're gonna
not
find
every
out,
lift.
You're going to find out who's bad when it gets heavy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be an amount of weight that's going to hurt somebody, but you'll find out real fast. But I think keeping kids in, if your kids play video games, that's great. We all played video games and we managed to still do things.
I mean, I play them now.
I do too. And I still manage to do things.
I suck.
I
suck so bad. My kids just kick my ass at them, so I don't play them at all.
I've
Changed a lot.
I've been playing that new Assassin's Creed, and time has disappeared on me a couple of times.
Yeah, it does.
But
she understands now.
just the cat game.
The cat game, yeah.
Stray.
I still go do things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Just like, hey, you can play like an hour. You can do this. But after you've, obviously get your homework done. But, hey, did you work out after school or before school? Did you, you don't have to be like just a lazy piece of shit and like.
Yeah, I got kids that will skip school when Call of Duty comes out for like 2 days and play overnight to get 40 hours of playing time in the first 48 hours.
I hate all of those kids.
And
Because they kick your ass.
The parents call them out. I'm like, what? Who would? My parents would have never done that. That is crazy.
You have a bunch of 12-years-olds on there just kicking your ass, talking shit the entire time.
You gotta hit mute.
There was a few times my senior year, my mom let me out so we could start drinking earlier, but that was.
He's from Iowa.
Oh, hey, we're going to go over so-and-so's house. Okay.
What were you drinking? Boone's Farm?
No, we didn't have that in Harlan. I don't know if we
Boone's
had
Farm.
Colt 45.
Bud Ice.
Bud Ice had the highest alcohol content.
Like 6%.
Yeah, or natural light. 'cause it was
Bartles and
cheap.
James.
Yeah. They had those. I think they still have them actually. Those Jack Daniel's coolers, like Down Home Punch and Lynchburg lemonade.
There for a while we drank. Do you remember that 2-Dog? It was like that lemonade.
Yes, it was
like malt
lemon and
liquor.
orange brewed beer.
Yeah, that was pretty
good actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry, Mom
you guys
and
are high
Dad.
class. I was Mountain Dew and like pop off vodka for me.
Well,
$5.99
yeah,
for
once I-
$1.75. Yeah.
Once we
Yeah,
got to
plastic.
college, then it was like the powdered Gatorade, like fruit punch, powdered Gatorade, and then you mix that with vodka. That was a minute there.
Yeah, we did in college. We would go to Super Saver in Council Bluffs and buy out the natural light because it was like $9 a case.
Oh, that Super Saver in Council Bluffs, actually. That was like a little gold mine with booze.
My sister got kicked out of there because she came in with her boyfriend that was older, and they knew that he was buying beer for her, and they like made her leave. And she
Wait.
went back like years later, and they told her she had to leave again. She's like got her fucking picture hanging up as Super Saver in Council
Permanently
Bluffs.
Well,
banned.
that wasn't the store where the person died behind the freezer. Was
No,
it?
that was No Frills.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Oh, I forgot.
For 10
about
years.
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, they tore the building down.
There had to be a
10 years
smell.
back. At least
But
for
no
the
frills
first
always,
couple years.
no frills always smells anyway. So
I mean, it was technically some frills. I mean, the food wasn't just like on the ground. There were shelves. There was electricity.
you had to bag your own groceries there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always the weird thing. You had to bag your own groceries.
But you know what? That was like ghetto when you had to do it at no frills. But now everyone's like, oh, Aldi's. Let me just carry in my reusable bags
And my
bag
quarter for my
own
fucking
things.
cart
Yes.
and self checkout.
I won't pay a quarter for the cart. I will load my arms.
And just keep dropping stuff.
Yes.
Well, that wasn't meant to be.
Punt kick it to the conveyor belt.
Yeah, I think consistency with kids. But we should make Tanner useful in this and talk about kids' nutrition. Because kids
Yeah.
don't have to be fat. They can. I mean, I don't think you have to eat perfect all the time, especially when you're a kid, because your metabolism is so fucking high.
Yeah.
The one thing that I see that just pisses me off is like all these like it's usually the skinny 14, 15, 16-year-old who's trying to put on size and wants like a pro hormone. And there's places in town who will sell that. We won't even sell them. And if you come into our store, you get pretty much two things: creatine and protein. But that's pretty much all a youth athlete needs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kids that you're doing diet stuff with?
Yeah, we football players at Millard. Did a whole baseball, like a Legion baseball team, or baseball academy.
Now, do you ever have parents come in that are like, my kid's fat, make him lose weight?
No, it's almost always a couple of those, but it's almost always small kids. But that's the other thing you see is you either see fat kids or you see kids with no muscle. Like they're all super skinny or they're all way overweight. Neither one of them are exercising.
Yeah.
Well, I find it interesting that there's still a stigma with probably parents in terms of how they're looking at their kids, that like things like creatine, things like, a solid protein supplement, that it's just looked upon as like, oh, this is terrible. Like I can't have my child take this. That's terrible for you, when that's how much research is out there about the very basic simplistic things that every not even every kid, but every person can benefit from.
Yeah. So honestly, it's a lot of moms with creatine. Mm-hmm. They did a little bit of research and like, you're going to have kidney failure. It's like,
And
yeah.
kidney stones from protein.
And it's like, well, yes, like the mice did have kidney problems, but they were also taking like 97 grams of creatine a day.
Yeah.
So yes, don't do that.
Yeah.
We all know somebody who's had a moment in their life where their mom was like, it's the creatine. He's on the creatine.
It's not the creatine.
Not the creatine.
But then dads come and it's like, what can you give my son to make him big? Yeah. You know, it's like, there's somewhere in between. Like we can just do protein, creatine, eat. That's actually the main thing with kids. It's like, well, my son eats all the time. He's just small. I said, okay, what does he eat for breakfast? Oh, he doesn't really eat breakfast. What does he eat for lunch? Oh, he eats school lunch. When does he eat? Well, when he gets home, he eats everything. Well, yeah, because he had like 400 calories all day long.
Yeah.
Like he ate a piece of toast. School lunches are garbage. And they have almost no calories in there because of, trying to be fit kids. They
Yeah, I want the old school ones when we used to have walking tacos and chicken nuggets.
Fiestadas.
Yeah.
You had pizza, and then
I don't
you
even know
had-
what a fiestada is, but it was amazing.
It was great. And they used to sell them at Super Saver.
Yeah, they did.
You could go buy them at Super Saver. I would, yes. And they were like 5 for like $1.
Dude, Chicky Nugget Day was the best.
A Fiestada is best.
I remember having a meal. It was like mashed potatoes, and then they put like chicken and gravy over it.
Yeah,
But it was on a piece of bread. God, that was good.
Yeah, it's like a hot beef sandwich, but it was the chicken from 2 days earlier.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yesterday's chicken is tomorrow's chicken gravy sandwich.
Yep. That was good. That was
When we were in
open
elementary
face.
school, you could go back and get a peanut butter or a butter sandwich.
How we talked about that.
Yeah. And some people thought it was weird to eat a butter sandwich, but I was like, have you never had?
Bread and but
Yeah.
A mayonnaise sandwich?
I've never had a mayonnaise sandwich. That's weird.
You know,
You're
you're poor if you've had a mayonnaise sandwich.
Put some bologna on there. You got yourself a good time.
Well, side note, Mark and I went out to dinner last night, a little date night, and the best thing we had was this breadboard. And Mark was like, I don't need all the carbs. We like licked that thing clean. It
There's
was
a lot of bread on it.
bread and butter, and they set it down. Mark's like, this is for like 5 people. Did we eat all of it? Yes.
Yes,
I
we
ate
did.
crumbs off of it.
I know, it's like Amber and I when there was like, oh, did you want, wherever you go, did you want bread? Why would you ask that? Why would you not just bring the bread out? Like, even if I don't eat the whole loaf, I'm going to dip in that weird oil shit you're going to give me, and I'm going
It's
to
gonna
fucking
taste
eat it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Even I feel like when we were kids, that was like the poor person, right? Like, oh, I had bread and butter for dinner. Lucky. That sounds delicious.
Toast with butter on it when it's hot and it melts.
Yeah, it's good.
That Kerrygold stuff that you guys turned us on to.
Oh, yeah. Kerrygold's real good.
I
Amber.
mean,
went
just
after
add a
that.
little cinnamon and sugar on it and you get yourself a dessert.
We used to do powdered sugar and call it ghost toast. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Gross toast. That sounds like something totally different.
But you had to be careful when you eat it. You had to be careful because if you would breathe out of your nose when you took a bite, it would blow the powdered sugar everywhere.
I'm gonna try that.
Oh, it's super good.
Yeah, let me show
Halloween
you.
breakfast.
Let me show you my ghost toast.
I also used to do peanut butter and put a piece of cheese on it. That sounds weird, but I always thought that was good too.
Yeah, you're odd.
That's
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're weird.
That's fine. It was good. But also, we ate like that and none of us were fat.
Well, we ate like that for an occasional breakfast, but we were still eating, right? And then I still remember what the irony is that my parents actually did own a restaurant that when we would sit down for dinner, my mom would be like, I don't run a restaurant. This is what you're eating. And it was, even without really trying, it was some form of protein, a vegetable, which we all hated, and
A carb.
like
Potato or-
or
yeah.
rice or
It was
something.
meat and potato. It was always like meat and potatoes.
Yeah, and you were expected to eat it.
Well,
There
yeah,
was
I
none
think-
of this like, oh, do you not want that? Do you want me to make some chicken nuggets instead? Oh, here, let me put something in the air fryer, or let me swing through a drive-through and pick something up. The drive-through was like, you won your tournament this weekend. Good job. Now you can get a Happy Meal, and it cost $1.99.
Well, I think that's where it's all changed because maybe it's because of where we work now, and we live in West Omaha, and it's a different environment than where I grew up. I grew up pretty poor. We didn't go out to eat unless it was your birthday.
We didn't even necessarily do that.
Book it.
We went. Yeah, we went out
Ooh,
to.
yeah, book
yeah, that's the
Dairy
only reason
Queen,
we
like,
ever went to
once a
pizza.
summer. Like that was like a treat. That wasn't what we do like every day.
Yeah, and I live like 10 miles from town. So, like, Pizza Hut didn't deliver. Like, you weren't going to...
There wasn't DoorDash.
No, you had to read a book to get a personal
Yeah.
pan pizza.
Am I-
Like
Give me
10 bucks.
4 of 'em.
$4.
And every once in a while, my parents would get... I'm not saying we never got Pizza Hut, but I mean, that was like a thing because it's like 10, 15 minutes into town, then back. And then, like, we would always just have, like, the gallon of Wells ice cream. There was never, like, anything fancy. But, yeah, if we went to Dairy Queen or something like that, that was like a
That was like
a special occasion.
Yeah.
Get my dad a dilly bar.
Vanilla cone.
That was the options. You could have a small cone or you could have a small sundae. Like
Not a dilly bar?
I'm sure I could have had one if I
The
had
dilly bars were
requested.
pretty solid, actually.
The peanut buster bars.
Oh, I remember
Oh,
those.
those are such a bitch to make.
But did you guys have pizza? Did you guys have pizza burgers at yours?
Yeah.
Oh, those were so fucking good. I don't even know what they were. There was nothing pizza about them, and they were super good.
It was a
How did I never have a pizza burger at your
it was a
place?
chicken, I believe.
But it was called a pizza burger.
Yeah.
It was so fucking good.
Chicken and marinara and cheese.
I mean, it was usually poorly made, like warmed
She's
up.
holding out on you, Mark.
1000%.
Yeah, I had
She's
to-
totally
it was
holding
like
on.
She
you-
always went for the chicken strip basket. My mom was like,
extra
well, here's
gravy.
a couple extra pieces.
Is this, when
chicken
you were,
strip
is this
basket
when you were
was-
courting her?
I was courting her, and
Before the dowry
the
was-
dowry was stolen away from me.
Pulled out from under him.
Yeah, I thought I was getting Dairy Queen for life when that's fine.
But the pizza burger was always hard on the outside and soft in the middle
Mm-hmm.
because it was just like warmed up in a microwave or something. I don't know.
There was no microwave.
Yeah, there's no microwave at Dairy Queen. I used to work at Dairy Queen.
People would ask all the time. Like people
Did
would
you know they
bring
owned
in.
one?
I did not know.
Yeah, her family owned one. They had the Brazier ice cream.
It wasn't a Brazier store.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, because we're territory operators.
Oh, man. Fucking.
You got to turn the blizzard upside down.
Yep. But only certain ones. Like you don't do that for a Hawaiian or a tropical one or a banana split blizzard.
Or the pecan turtle thing.
pecan cluster.
Yeah, which is my favorite one. But that thing, you'd be like, deep, yep, good one.
Every now and then you'd get usually like an M&M or something, break through the cup, like slice your hand open. You have to put another cup on there and you're like, nope, you're just taking it as is.
Yeah.
Everyone should have to work at Dairy Queen
Yeah.
once in their life.
Making $2 an hour.
I wore a visor.
How much did you make when you started?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Child labor laws
when
do
you
not
first
apply
got
to family
paid.
members.
When you first got paid, what were we making?
Oh, $5.25 an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they
That
paid
was-
like, so the guy in Harlem paid like servers. They got like $2 an hour, which is really fucked because you don't get tips at Dairy Queen.
Oh, I would get a tip every now and then from my regulars.
Yeah, but not to make up the other
tip
$3
was-
an hour.
No.
Tip was get a real job, lady.
This place sucks. Go somewhere else.
I mean, I worked there all the way through. Well, like when I graduated, I still worked there, and then occasionally I would get yelled at by somebody. I got like a shake thrown at me one time. I'm like, I have my doctorate.
When you were working
really
there, did like
sucks.
people you went to high school with come through and be like, "Oh God, what a fucking loser! She still works at Dairy
Yeah,
Queen."
actually, the
she went
kid.
to PT school. And she works at Dairy Queen. What a fucking loser!
Yeah, the There's a lot of things in this sentence to unpack, but the kid who stole my subs from my trunk
You had
of my car.
You had subs?
Yeah.
They had subs in Council Bluffs?
Yes.
Was
I
it
said
a
there's a
Honda
lot to
Civic?
unpack.
I had subs in
You
Harlem.
did
that's
have a
fine.
Honda Civic, didn't you? No.
I
you had a
did,
Sentra?
but it wasn't in that. It was in my Nissan Sentra.
Oh, there you go. You had the rattle bucket. Like you, boom, burn.
Yes. And the kid, I know exactly who it was. The kid stole it, and then he used to come into Dairy Queen like once a week. Like,
I didn't see you as a sub person.
it was a phase.
I had subs like for a while.
Poke audio.
Yeah.
I had Rockford.
Yes. It was when I used to listen to The River.
Oh, that's not even like a really substation though. Like
No.
metal music's not really for subs.
I mean, get a little
I was
bass
listening to
in
like
there.
gangbanger shit in Harlem. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like Biggie.
yeah, I had the kicker.
Tupac.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
the kicker comps.
I had my moment.
Rockford Fosgate,
Yeah.
all that jazz.
That's when you had to like when you got out of your car, you had to like take your face.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you had to take
you
it
had to take
inside.
it off.
Mhm, so
Yeah.
No,
that
you
someone
just stick it
wouldn't
under
steal
the seat with your keys. Yeah, we really drifted on that.
We digressed. We usually do.
That's okay.
But yeah, I think in general, kids just need to be more active. I think it's super important because the kids are just getting fatter and lazier.
Yeah.
Well, and if your kid wants to put on size, it's still a math problem, and they still have to eat. The best thing you can get them to do is take their lunch to school and eat breakfast, and you'll solve a lot of problems. Because they come home at 3:00 and they just walk in the door, 4:00, and they walk in the door and they just eat everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think sports obviously build camaraderie. They socialize you, and I mean it teaches you about losing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't learn how to lose when you're younger, it's way harder when you're older.
Well, and so much of what strength training and training for sports in general, I think, in the youth should be focused on is laying down the basics, right? And there's so many things that go away from that now, where you have the kids who are in the weight room, and yes, I realize it's a competitive environment, but nobody cares that their form looks like crap. But then that 18-year-old who's trying to be the one who squats the heaviest for a quarter squat for his football team now becomes that adult in the gym who doesn't know what they're doing and is, like training with his buddies, gets hurt because he doesn't know what he's doing, and then just like drifts away from sports in general or being athletic or weight training. And we all know the negatives that can come from that as we age.
Well, and I think to your point about this being so specific in sports is as soon as they're done, because very few go to college. And then even after that, even fewer go on past college.
Right.
So then they just stop.
Yep.
Because they didn't train. They only trained or they only did their sport. They never learned how to really train. And as soon as that's over, they don't do anything.
Yeah, it's just
Right.
all or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just being active in groups, so whether you're working out, because if you go to even if you're not in sports and you go to the weight room before school, like we used to go before school, or if you go after school, there's going to be people in there. You're going to build friendships. You're going to build some kind of camaraderie. And like I said, the socialization, even in weight training, you're going to learn how to fail. You're going to learn how to lose. And I think all that's super important because if you never learn how to lose, you never I know a kid who was a fighter and he won all the time and he kind of got set up to win. And the first time he lost was basically the end of his career. Because you don't know how to deal with it.
Or how
I have
to
a
come back from
question,
it.
Mark. What do you think the best companion sports are? People are going to go football, baseball, basketball, right? But is wrestling? Do you think wrestling and track are the two that most athletes should do in between?
Football for sure, and wrestling, because it teaches you body control and core stabilization and balance, and it just makes you tough. Wrestlers are tough. And if you have a wrestler that plays on the offensive or a defensive line, they're fantastic because they're tough and they're used to not arguing. They're not prima donnas. They're just gritty and nasty. And it just teaches you how to grind. Wrestling for sure. For sure.
I think that was
Wrestling's
Micah.
great.
Isn't Micah Parsons? Wasn't he doing wrestling and boxing?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's like a defensive guy right now. You know what I mean? And same thing. Yeah, we were always told if we didn't go out for track, we couldn't play defense. But I don't think the track.
Yeah,
carried,
I
don't
think
think
a
track
lot of-
carried over that far.
No, I think a lot of football players were forced to do track.
And never
I mean,
wrestling. It was never wrestling.
It was never
No.
wrestling.
Now
but
looking
should've
back,
been
it made
wrestling.
sense, but it was never wrestling.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think having kids being built into having some form of cardio via track is bad. Like that, I think the intention is good with that. But let's face it, most of the big football kids are going to gravitate towards I'm a thrower, right? Or
I
that's
think
great.
the only thing about wrestling that I would be if I was a football coach is I would be like, you can't cut them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's
Whatever
the
weight,
problem.
whatever weight they walked in as, is I want them to walk out at that
Stay
weight.
that.
Yep.
And I think that's why you don't get that much crossover with football and wrestling, is because there's always that pressure to get smaller so you can wrestle more competitively and to cut and to restrict. And I see that as a huge dichotomy. But are you a wrestler or are you a football player? Are you wrestling to play better at football or are you wrestling to be better at wrestling?
Yeah.
And I think if you're cutting weight, you're going to hamper all of your physical prowess.
And I think and so many
sports.
schools offer powerlifting now. I think powerlifting
Yeah.
is great for football players.
Elkhorn just
And-
started a program.
Yeah, I know the guys that are running that.
Yep.
And
They came in and we're helping them out.
nice. And I think the powerlifting is great for football players, track, everybody. Like you might as well do it.
He's breaking it.
It's both of you guys. I don't know. I help you on your mic. Both. I helped you last time.
I know, but look at me now. I'm
Yeah.
a pro.
Look at me now.
Yeah.
So yeah, be out there, be competitive. Be competitive when you're younger because it'll build you into something when you're older. And you know, if you want to be great, like if you really in your heart think you're going to go play a professional sport, you need to be if you want to build a pyramid to the top, the base needs to be super wide. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
Like, get really, really good at the basics.
I think
Just
gymnastics.
being an athlete. Be an
yeah.
athlete.
I think
yeah.
gymnastics for kids, as long as you're not trying to make them like a gymnast.
you mean
Yeah.
like pre
Just
middle school
early.
age, like
Yeah.
early, oh yeah, the
Teaches them how to
Body
coordination,
awareness, body
yeah.
position. Yeah.
And gymnasts are pound for pound the strongest people in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Pound for
Yeah,
pound.
but-
It always cracks me up when like CrossFitters like I gotta muscle up, and the guys in the rings are like, that's how we get on.
Yeah.
That's
Or
our
a gymnast is
start.
like, I just
Yeah, until you
Yeah.
do an iron cross, I'm not impressed.
Man, some of those Russians like iron cross and then out to like a plank position and do like push up. I'm like, the amount of body strength.
I still like, isn't that old school where he's smoking while he's doing it? But yeah, I mean, and parents, get your kids out, make them do things. Like, even though they bitch about it, like, make them do things. Later in life, they're going to look back and be like, man, like, I had to get a job when I was 14.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
15.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like the hardest
I
job.
rode
I
ever,
was
bus.
but, like,
11, but
Oh,
oh, it's fucking one
I
upper over
detest
here.
That's what happens when your parents own a
detest-
I know.
business. Yes.
Child labor laws
Yeah.
don't apply
I
to
walked
family
beans-
members.
Well, I walked beans when I was younger, but that didn't count because we lived on a farm and I didn't have a choice.
that's just
Still
chores.
working.
Yeah, it was
Just
just
chores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not that I'm saying I was the hardest working chore doer at my house by any means. I'm not going to put that out there.
There's a
but,
reason you weren't getting paid.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just so many lessons you learn from physical activity,
Yeah.
sports, weight training. Dude, my friends used to ride bike like every day around Harlan, and not like in the old BMXs, like no gears,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to get places.
just
That
to
was-
get places.
That was your
We,
transportation.
we rode bikes to the gym. We rode like 2 miles to the gym. We worked out and then we rode back. Our parents weren't
Uphill
taking
in the
us.
snow.
Dude, we
Not
used
as
to
much in the snow.
we used to do this hill in Harlan. It was like it was so fun to go down, but then you're like, well, we got to ride back up now.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I was old enough to go to the pool by myself, then, you meet your friends in the neighborhood pools and, well, you have a bike, get yourself there. Use
then
the
you're-
payphone to call when you get there so that we know
and
that
you did
you're.
the collect call,
Payphone.
and you said, "I'm at the pool, bye."
Yep.
Oh, we were just talking about that. You remember the commercial? Bob, we had a baby. It's a boy.
Baby, it's a boy. Yeah, we used to call my buddy's dad from the weight room, and it'd be like, "Oh, collect call from. We're done. Come pick us up." Yeah, all that. But even like then, you rode bike to the pool, and then you probably, even though you were like hanging out, you probably still swam.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where pools are very underutilized. That it's a real workout because you don't feel yourself sweating. But I think that's huge also. But yeah, just be active. Make your kids be active. Like, who cares if they're going to hate you? At least your
Well,
kids are going to be a piece of shit.
they're actually way more happy.
Oh, yeah.
Kids are happier when they're
Yeah,
active.
and I'm not saying don't let your kids play video games. I'm not saying that either, because I also think video games, weirdly enough, they do build some weird like
They
hand-eye
do.
coordination and like
Some
Yeah, but
problem solving.
and problem
everything in
solving, right?
moderation.
Cognitive reflexes, yes.
yeah, there's something to everything like that.
And-
There's some good in them.
Show your kid that it's okay to not necessarily know everything and not be great at everything. There's kids that don't want to go to the weight room because they don't know what to do. That's great. What a great opportunity to set them up with a couple of sessions with a trainer, or to sit there and say, hey, we're going to learn this together, because there's plenty of adults that don't know what to do. And that intimidation factor is so high for adults. If you can get over that as a kid, to be able to say like, yeah, you're going to walk into the gym. There's like today, when in our workout, Brett's like, here's a new machine. None of us knew how to use it. We all were idiots for a minute, but we were all idiots together, and that's fine.
Yeah, and everybody did great.
That's fine.
There were some awkward moments.
Yeah, no matter what you do there, there's going to be a learning curve. So don't be, down on it. And like you were talking about earlier about, the guy who like lifted like a dipshit in high school and then he goes to the gym and gets hurt. But not even that gets hurt. If you go to like a real gym where people are going to be honest with you, they're going to be like, dude, that's straight dog shit. And then you're going to get discouraged.
Yeah, and then you're going to quit, and then you're not going to do
come
it.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So learn how to do things the right way. And, like you said, if you're a parent and don't know anything, and I know sometimes a lot of us from small towns, it's hard to find there might not be a trainer or a strength coach in that area, but do some research so at least your kid lifts the right way. If you can spare the money, I know it's not always cheap or free, but spend a little money and get your kid a little bit of coaching on technique. Yeah. And hopefully it's somebody good. I should say there's a lot of shit.
Well, and it's hard
Yeah.
because in your line of work and our line of work too, you're looking at 20% of the people are, worth a shit.
Yeah.
And that's being nice. And so it is difficult because as a consumer, how do you know what you're getting and how do you know what is a good quality product? That's the problem.
It's hard, and it's hard to do like some research because everybody out there is an expert. I get that too.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I mean, do your best, do the best you can. I understand that, you know what I mean? And, but yeah, get your kids in the right direction, working out. Like I said, eating, like sometimes they just need to eat in general.
Yes.
I mean, we had those things when we were younger. A friend would come over and we'd play the new PlayStation game, and we'd stay up all night and drink like a case of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
But
eat pizzas.
But then after that, like the next day, we were probably at his house riding bike everywhere. Like it wasn't like every day we did this thing.
Right.
So get out and do shit. Don't be a lazy kid, because you're going to be a lazy adult, and life's going to be way fucking harder for you.
Yeah. If you're a lazy kid, you're going to be a lazy adult. You're going to have lazy kids, and then it's just going to...
And you're not going to do well at work.
Wasn't that Sean Connery on The Rock? The winner gets to go home and fuck the prom queen.
I don't
And then
remember
he was
that.
like, I married the prom... Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's
I'm a
nothing wrong
lady,
with...
I won't say that.
Yeah, history is written by the winners. Always remember that.
Yep.
History is written by the winners. But yeah, get your kids out, make them do things. And if they have problems, like legitimate problems, find a good PT or whatever's in your area. Like chiropractor, whatever's good in your area.
Yeah.
Find that. You
and
can
don't
get
go
a-
to the closest place. Go to the best place.
Yeah.
Well, and
Otherwise,
also
you'll waste your time.
don't be afraid to like find experts in your area instead of always going online.
Yeah.
It just drives
Yeah.
me nuts. Like you can tell someone something, like then they hear it on TikTok. Oh, this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, those people on TikTok are just trying to make money.
They're making
Yeah.
content. I get the same problem all the time with people asking me questions about content people. And I'm like, well, they make money on making content. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to be interesting.
Yes.
There are some big names in like the PT realm, especially that they put out videos constantly. And
I
they're
fucking
always,
hate that guy. I know you're talking. You can say his name. I fucking
they're-
hate that guy.
They're
There's many.
always criticizing somebody else or what they're doing.
Say
But you
it,
know
Brett.
what? He makes money making content. He rents a square of a gym from the gym owner.
Squat University. I fucking
Oh,
hate that guy.
Yeah.
I didn't say it.
You can say it.
I mean,
don't
there's
care.
more than one. Those are the people who don't make a living treating patients. They make a living making content. So they're inherently biased anyway. They don't fix people. They make content.
Because I don't think, just like I've said with people, if you have an exercise science degree, that means nothing to me.
Right.
Unless you have
Everybody
under the
has
bar
one.
experience and you've done things. If you've played sports, you're a PT, been working with people with all different issues. You haven't seen it. Just because you're book taught doesn't mean you know anything.
Correct.
Same.
And there's plenty of videos out there from who you said and others that make it seem like, oh, this person had this horrible condition that absolutely nobody was able to diagnose and I got them better in one session. No, sorry, that's bullshit.
didn't happen.
There's plenty of times where it's trial and error, where we see something in a patient, we think, okay, maybe it's this, and they're like, oh, hey, I was better for a little bit. Okay, we're on to something, and it's a process. There's very few people that come in, even the best of the best, that they are better in 1 to 2 sessions, and I just don't believe that, and that's false information that they're putting out there, that, oh, I'm the only person that can fix you, and I can do it in 1 to 2 sessions.
I mean, especially what you guys do, and the little bit I'll do with people if they have issues, you know what I mean, before I'll refer them to, obviously, usually you guys, obviously, or anybody else in the training field, we're literally taking a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, this hurts. Well, it could be this, or this.
Exactly.
You should try to stretch this, or you should try to do this, maybe do this with a lacrosse ball. But you don't know. There's not always x-rays. There's not always MRIs. There's not always all these things. So you have to be patient with people, because a lot of times they're taking a shot in the dark to see what it is.
Yeah.
If they make you worse, then obviously maybe you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
But even if there are x-rays and MRIs, like we get really good at reading diagnostic imaging, but diagnostic imaging can tell you what's there, what's not there, what's structurally
But
there.
it's
It
not
can't tell you what's
symptoms.
painful.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
tell you that.
there's some really, really good orthopedic doctors here in town that will even say that. Well, this is here, but I don't think that's the cause of your pain. Just because someone has a meniscus tear, just because someone has a labral tear does not mean that that's what's causing their pain or their dysfunction. But you have plenty of people who, that's the first thing. Oh, you have this. Okay, you're going to have surgery.
Yeah.
Which I think feeds into that fear of, oh, I can't go to the weight room. I can't lift. I can't be active because I'm going to make something that may or may not be there worse.
Well, and that's why you guys ask so many questions, because you're trying to pinpoint what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because you're on the internet does not mean you're an expert.
Correct.
Like John Hansen, which we had on here, obviously multi-time world champion. He told me a long time ago, he said, Brett, you'll never be a black belt in your own town.
Yeah.
People will drive somewhere else or message someone else to ask them the same question that they could have asked you. That's always a great quote. You'll never be, basically saying you'll never be an expert in your own town.
Yeah.
Because people are like, well, I know that person. What do they know? Especially in a small town.
Yeah.
But, like if you're from a small town and there's a larger city, make the drive. Get your people, get your kids the right. You would drive your kid to, if you lived in a small town around Omaha, you would drive your kid to the med center to get better treatment than a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you're probably going to Omaha, Council Bluffs metro area frequently anyway. Take some time and get even if it's training or PT or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, even if it's once a week, you come down and see Tanner and he robs you at his store or whatever he does,
Right. know what you know what you don't know, and
Exactly.
recognize that there are people who can help you to fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want your kids to, don't live vicariously through your kid, but if your kid really has a goal to be something and they really have the talent, honestly have the talent, help them get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Man, especially if you can get, like we were talking about the free college, if you can get free college, if your kid literally has that ability, I would fucking do everything for my kid to get them there.
Yeah.
What shoes do you need? Cool, let's get those. What do you need to see? Okay, you need to go get some work done at core. Great, we'll take you out there and get some work done.
But also understand if your kid's not there, there's so many benefits to sports.
Yeah.
And
Still
training.
benefits of sports, but don't force them to everything. You know what I mean? Like I've always said, people who that was the old everybody's a winner thing.
No.
But maybe you're not. And maybe if someone would tell you you're not good at it, you'll try a different sport. Or I always joke around, but maybe you're like a world champion chess player.
Yeah.
Like you don't know because everybody's just lied to you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I didn't get a scholarship. And then you get I'm not saying it puts kids into depression, but you have a false sense of reality.
Well, I think it's now that there are so many competitive sport teams out there, right? Like you have a parent who's willing to throw money, then there's a team and a coach out there willing to take your kid. But I think that somehow this select sports has gone away with just general activity and general participation because now it's looked down on. That, oh, my kid's not on a travel team. Well, your kid's a loser. No, you're setting your kid up for the rest of their life. Recognize where they are in terms of their ability. And if they have the ability to potentially grow and go further in that sport, great, awesome. And if they don't, great, awesome. That's okay too. But you still need to foster that.
Yeah. We always force them to try something. And if you start it, you have to finish it.
Yeah.
But if you don't like it after the season, you can move on to something else. But you always have to be doing something.
But not every kid needs to be in a travel competitive team where they're going, to a different city every single weekend to ride the
10.
bench. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're 10.
When they're 10 and the scouts aren't there yet. Sorry.
Right.
Well, and I think the biggest problem with that is everybody has started all these select leagues and teams to make money. And so
It's a status symbol now.
it absolutely is. And there's a plenty of people who aren't really great athletes who play on select teams who really don't belong on a special team, but it's a money-making scam for a lot of people. And unfortunately, kids get kind of pushed into it by their parents sometimes, and they don't even want to play anymore.
We asked,
You overplay almost.
Yeah. You burn them out.
There's a really, really well-respected orthopedic surgeon who has since retired here in Omaha, but we asked him once what his general thought was in terms of why there's so many more sports injuries now. And his comment was exactly that, is that kids that would have been kind of phased out from that through, okay, there's not a team for you, so you're going to go from competitive sports to just lifelong recreational sports. Now that doesn't exist. Now it's, oh, you're not on the first competitive team, now you're on the fourth competitive team, and people who maybe shouldn't be those sorts of competitive athletes are still putting themselves in the positions that they are, and they're going up against kids who are competitive athletes, and you get some of these pretty major
And that's
injuries.
why we get so many younger injuries than we did even 20 years ago. I didn't see a lot of early teen ACLs 20 years ago, and now
No.
we see them all the time.
Yeah, I had a
12,
9-year-old
13,
ACL.
9. It's crazy.
And again, build that base.
Yeah.
And you're talking about where people judge if you're not on a select team. You know how many, and just tell your kids, if you don't make a select team, you know how many great athletes have come out of small schools? There's tons of great athletes who came out of small schools, late round picks. I mean, you look at right now in the NFL,
Junior colleges, too.
Brock Purdy, who's like probably one of the highest talked about quarterback right now. And he was the last pick in the draft out of Iowa State.
The last.
Out of Iowa State. You know what I mean?
Well, Michael Jordan, the classic example, cut from his high school basketball team.
Yeah. Yeah, almost failed out of high school because he was cut into practice all the time. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, don't ever think because you didn't make we had the A team and the B team when we were younger, you know what I mean? But or JV, varsity, or you didn't make whatever. That doesn't mean don't keep trying hard.
Yeah.
Because, dude, all it takes is one person. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a backup to Drew Bledsoe. And he went down, and Tom Brady got his opportunity, and now he's obviously the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football.
Well, and one of my problems with all the youth select teams is you take 12-year-old, especially boys, and you have some that matured, some that are in puberty, and some that aren't. Right? So yeah, the 12-year-old who has a mustache is probably better because he's fit. He has mustache and he has to wear deodorant. He's probably better than the 12-year-old who is nowhere near it.
But eventually it's going to catch up.
But eventually it all changes. So that's another thing. Is also the kids who are working hard. I just keep encouraging to try because you just never know. I went from 4'11" my freshman year to 5'9" my sophomore year. 1 year apart, grew 10 inches.
What was your
head?
What was your hat size change?
It was the same.
Easy, Barry Bonds.
I'm a solid 8.
But yeah, you know what?
I know you're jealous.
Yeah, no totes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole moral of it is just put your time in, just work hard. Don't be a fucking fat, lazy kid, and don't let your kids be fat, lazy kids. Because there's no reason for that. Just be active. And like you said, if you're not on the A team or you're not on the travel team, who cares? Keep working hard, and someday you're going to fucking show up the kid.
Or you're going to be really good at whatever you decided to do in life.
Yes.
Some of the kids I went to high school with that were the most naturally talented ended up doing nothing because they were fucking lazy.
Yeah.
Because they had all the skill in the world and they never worked at it. Like you said, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had some natural ability, but he worked his ass off.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, you hear stories about him. Same thing. So just keep working at it. And don't be a fat piece of shit. Like I said, history is written by the winners.
Very true.
And I think we'll end it there. Thanks, Mark and Claire.
Yes, of
For all
course.
your great
Thank you.
input. And then, Tanner, whatever, you're always here. So.
I'm always there.
All right, guys. We appreciate you listening. Like, subscribe, share. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple.
Don't be a hoe.
Share the show. The words of Andy Frisella will live forever. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening.